Hi, this is Jerry Royse from AlaskaYellowPages.com. I'm here to share some critical information because a number of Alaska businesses have been attacked in the last week from hackers that appear to be residing out of Eastern Europe. And what they're doing is they're taking critical files, accounting records, and other very vital files of information from businesses. They're then encrypting that information and holding businesses hostage and have to pay a fee in order to get your business information back, which can really have a major negative impact for businesses throughout Alaska. While this is a global epidemic, apparently recently Alaska businesses have been particularly targeted, and there are some steps that we want to share to minimize the damage that occurs should this happen to your business. Tom Kellerman, a cybersecurity from Trend Micro, one of the leading software companies in the world that deals with virus and other types of attacks, basically recognizes that Eastern Europe has really become the true center of gravity for master thieves of hacking. And the Eastern European hacking group is more money driven than the Asian attacker groups. Often we see that the Asian attacker groups, which we've recently heard in the news, have been taking information from things like the Office of Management and Budget and other federal employees, which now includes up to 20 million potential records. That information is not necessarily at this point being used to exploit financial gains, but potentially to allow these information holders to be able to blackmail or take advantage of people to break into national security issues. So what does the screen look like? This is the attack that's come up recently, and while it's a little bit hard to read, let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on. What happens is that you'll get this file that says, hey, what happened to your files? Oh, it's been protected by a strong encryption. Well, you can go to Wikipedia and discover that the encryption codes being used by these Eastern European hackers are very sophisticated. Flashback a couple of years ago, you probably could have broken through the encryption and recaptured your files. That's no longer possible. The sophistication is beyond the capability of most companies. And so as a result, what they do is they break into your files, and we'll talk about how they do that. They then use Bitcoins as a tool. You'll see this in the middle of the screen, where they tell you that we've grabbed your files. You have to then go to these websites, and they use Bitcoins, which are non-traceable, to get the money from you. The reason they do that is if you used a credit card, you could then stop the credit card payment, but Bitcoins are non-traceable and non-reversible, and so they grab the money. Then they say once you've done that and sent them the money, they'll send you the key to encrypt your data, unencrypt your data to be able to have access again. Now the fees that they're charging can range from $500 to $5,000 or more, and there's no guarantee that once you've sent the money to this black website that you're necessarily going to get an encryption key that is going to be able to get your data back. So what can we do to minimize the cost and the damage being done? Well, there are a number of strategies that we can look at, because while virus is an evolving business, there are some tools that we can look at and some strategies. Backup, making sure that we have backup. Virus protection, both hardware and software. We'll talk about all these in a little bit more detail. Establishing protection policies and procedures, and making sure that employees are being trained, because one small mistake from one employee can compromise the entire company network system and eliminate or even kill completely some of the critical files that you need to operate your business. So what are the backup strategies? There are software programs that can be used to back up critical files, because one of the things we want to take a look at is the frequency of the backup. If you're looking at very critical files, you might want daily backups. If it's less critical, weekly may accomplish your objectives. But another key to remember is the software that is being used today on these hack attacks can not only compromise the files that you need, and they like to attack files like QuickBooks, data files that are in contact management systems, etc., critical client files, but they can also track the backup of those files if the backups are simply on the network system. So one of the things that we want to do is not only look at backing up to the network onto another hard drive in case something happens to your primary hard drive, but also backing up away from the network. Whether you're using a jump drive or a thumb drive, a DVD, or an external drive, we want to back up at least on a weekly basis and remove that backup system away from the computer. One of the strategies that one business owner uses is they have duplicate sets. One week it is backed up to a jump drive and removed from the business location in case there's a fire or something like that. And the following week, a different record is saved at a different location. One of the other employees takes that home so that if you have a compromised software that's come in to compromise your files, if it's been sitting in your computer for a week before it's activated, if you have just one backup, you may find that that's been compromised as well. So by rotating your backups, getting them away from your network systems, removing them from the location will give you the greatest protection. Now, looking at virus strategies and antivirus options, there are tools that can be used like firewalls on the hardware. Server antivirus systems are included often with email accounts because often when the email comes through the server, there's an election depending on your email provider that can turn on the antivirus or not turn it on. In so many cases, people think they're protected, but the setting did not include the antivirus on the server level on their email. Now, there are virus protection software programs you see up in the top left-hand corner. There are a number of them that are very effective, but one of the things we have to keep in mind is that there are different types of attacks. There are Trojan horses, as they call them, viruses and worms that get onto your computer. And because this is a proactive kind of a situation, it's kind of a cat and mouse game. The virus definitions must be updated and maintained in a current fashion, either on a daily or a weekly basis, because what happens is as these hackers have their programs blocked, they then create a revision to get around the block that has been put out by these major software programs. And so what happens is, as businesses are hacked, they report often either automatically or manually to these software companies who then share the fact that an attack has occurred. They then make the adjustments in the software. They put out new virus definitions. But if you're working off virus definitions from 3 weeks ago and the hacker has changed them within the last 5 days and you haven't updated the definitions, you're not protecting your system to the degree that you thought you were. So it's important to keep those virus definitions current. In addition to that, some of the policies and procedures that we want to keep in mind, because there's a lot of different ways that these viruses can enter into our computer systems, because we rely so much on the internet anymore for a lot of our business decisions and executions. The viruses can be delivered in a number of different ways. Probably the most common is email and attachments. You know, making sure that nobody in the company opens up an attachment, no matter how it looks. It may have come from a financial institution because this is a primary tool. Electronic fund transfers, you know, a accounting department sees something, it looks like there's been some problem with one of your financial accounts, it looks like it's legitimate, they open it up and they open up the system to the virus. White papers are another tool that sometimes will have a link on them that opens up a virus program, so making sure that we're scanning those. You know, browser plugins on our web browsers, it's important that they be current because older plugins can be compromised. Certain websites not only will download viruses, but these virus attacks can also attack legitimate websites and compromise them so that future visitors will download these virus definitions. A lot of people like moving data around on USB drives, as we see down in the bottom right-hand corner. These can be infected with viruses, but likewise, they can have virus scans done on them to make sure that they're safe. Now, one of the key important areas is to make sure that we have training, because as new employees come and go, we've got to be able to inform them on the procedures within the company to minimize the exposure from these hacking attacks. Now, having written procedures laid out and making sure that new employees are updated on an ongoing basis so that we don't make the mistake, because one small mistake can cripple the business and cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars if we're not able to recover the information. This is Jerry Royse from AlaskaYellowPages.com, and we're here to help with your technology needs. Call us if there's anything that we can do. Look forward to talking to you in the future. Thanks again for listening, and good luck. But one thing to keep in mind, just as one more thing, and that is these attacks are going on right now. They've happened in the last week. So this weekend or as soon as possible, take a look at your critical files, get them backed up, removed from the network system so that if you are a victim of one of these attacks, it doesn't destroy your business because you have a recent backup that can be restored in case you've been attacked. Thanks again for listening. Jerry Royse, AlaskaYellowPages.com.